Shalom. First off, I want to start up by saying all praises, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim HaKadosh. That's all praises to the world called God. His true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, Bahashim in the name, and Yahushai being the name of God, the Son. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, preaching word and truth and sincerity. And my brother Taz about the Great Millstone, Arizona camp. Well, with another video to edify. And I wanted to go on this, man. If you see as the articles on the screen, it says U.S. brain implant company test apparent first in China. It says Cambridge-based Axoft is taking its brain implant tech on a very global tour. Harvard-based startup announced this week that it temporarily implanted its soft neural probe in a patient in Shanghai, while also closing a $55 million Series A funding round. The closure stands out since U.S. firms rarely talk publicly about human testing partnerships in China. And that right there tells you that we almost at the end, right? And one thing that you got to understand is the Moabites, the so-called Chinese, Moab, because that's the biblical name, is Moab in the scripture, right? There were no Chinese in the scripture. They were called Moabites. They've always been partners with Esau. Always. I put this in on a chat, right? I put time in the Bible where Edomites and Moabites work together in the Bible. It says there are several times in the Bible where Edomites and Moabites acted together, either as allies, members of coalitions, or under the same political movement. Here are the clearest examples: coalition against Judah in Jehoshaphat's time. And it says in 2 Chronicles 20, the Moabites and Ammonites and the people of Mount Seir, Edom, came together to attack Judah. It says the children of Moab and the children of Ammon with them. Others said, it says with them other besides the Ammonites. It says the wording varies by translation. Mount Seir is Edom. It says later the chapter specifically references Mount Seir strongly tied to Edom. This is one of the clearest examples of Moab plus Edom cooperating militarily, subjugated together under David/Israelite rule, confederacy against Israel, and the prophets. And we're going to get to Psalms 83. It says the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab, right? It says shared rebellion and opportunism during Judah's fall. When Judah was weakened by Babylon, both Edom and Moab are portrayed in prophetic books as hostile neighboring nations benefiting from Judah's collapse. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Obadiah, even if not formally allied, they moved in parallel interests. Now I'm going to jump down. It says right, where is it at? Yeah, it says deeper contacts. Edom and Moab were both kin nations to Israel. Edom descended from Esau, Moab descended from Moab. It says because of geography, southeast of Israel, they often shared strategic interests, and that's what I wanted to hit on. Right? These so-called Chinese have always worked with Edom. They've always had strategic interests. Right? This is no more than another strategic interest. But the announcement of this on a public scale is also a sign that they're about to push this thing forward. Because when you bring this technology, you have it be cleared, and a nation that is the biggest producer in the world, they're getting ready to push this thing out on a grand scale. Now the scriptures tell you this, right? Gotta go this one, man. 2 Ezra 15 and 46, it says, "And now Asia, that are partaker of the hope of Babylon, and are the glory of her person." And that's what you're seeing. They are partaking in the hope of Babylon because Esau's goal, the Edomites' goal, is to push this technology through the world, because he's getting ready to post himself as a godhead, and having this technology in the biggest nation that produces all goods throughout the world. This is no more than a strategic partnership, as they always have done. And he's hoping in Babylon. It says, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee." There's a little more. There's a part on this. What is it? How does it say? It says, verse 48. It says, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore said the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. But what did it say in verse 48? You followed her, and who's the her? Esau, Edom, America, Babylon the Great, that is hated in all her works. Because this right here, stupid. But it's part of the plan of the Lord in order to bring Revelation 3 and verse 10 to pass. That trial upon the whole world, and also Revelation 13, right? Revelation 3 and 10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right? That is what this is being pushed out for. That's why you're seeing a globalization of this thing now. Because for a while, the whole implanting technology and all that stuff, it was really a Western nation thing. Right? You have those in Germany and stuff like that were down with the agenda. They were getting it, all that stuff. But now they're saying it's a global thing. When you brought this technology to China for testing, and China announced it, they're really just getting this thing to go through China's system to allow it to be mass produced and globally exported. Because Revelation 13 and 16 is about to come to pass. We are pushing forward towards prophecy, and it doesn't matter what the people think, right? Let me get this, man. It says, Ezekiel 2 and 5, it says, and they, whether they will hear or forbear, Salakia, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. It doesn't matter what the people think. There's all type of prophecies that people are going to get uncomfortable with, and they don't want to hear about it. It doesn't matter. These things are going to happen. And the mark of the beast is at the top of that list, right? And the prophets, starting off with the elders and apostles, they told you about these things before. It says, Revelation 13 and 16, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or their foreheads. And that's what you're seeing. When they're talking about the Neuralinks, the brain implants, that's in the forehead. That's what it's getting at. And they're testing this thing in China, the biggest manufacturer of the world, because they push it out through there. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. This is what it is. This is no more than an old strategic alliance that's always been in function. Because whether or not you people want to believe it, that whole CV-19, when that came to pass, how they blamed it on Wuhan and all that shit, that was all Esau and Moab working together to push that out, among other things that are coming down the line. And you had Klaus Schwab, right? I put videos where WEF leaders say China say what China is doing, a social credit score is the ideal model. And it said right here, it says, while direct video footage of World Economic Forum leaders explicitly saying China's social credit system is the ideal model is not prominently available, there are reports of Klaus Schwab, calling China a role model for other nations. Critics often connect weak promotion of stakeholder capitalism and ESG scores to the surveillance-based social credit system. And that's what they're getting ready to pull forward. And they've got a myriad of ways, and it's all stupid, because this whole system that they're trying to bring forward with AI and all that stuff to manage it, to be the nervous system of it, destroying where you live. So it doesn't even matter. You can have all the surveillance in the world, right? A king without servants ain't no king. It's just going to kill the planet. And this is why the scriptures say that the Lord is going to shorten the days, at least there's no flesh will be saved. Because if this devil keeps going the way he's going, everything's just getting torn up. Everything's just getting torn up. That's all we keep seeing, is everything getting torn up, man. It's sickening, man. But these things are coming to pass. The prophecies, especially the prophecies of the end. When you go to Habakkuk 2, we're in that time. We're in the time of Habakkuk 2. We're in the time of Habakkuk 2. Habakkuk 2 and 2, it says, answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And the prophets ain't tarrying no more. And if your leaders ain't been talking about this, they ain't leaders. They just people you like to listen to.
Yep. Your comfy messages.
what they're saying is the market
God is all love.
by itself, and how that actually works, and a system that's already being promoted and talked about already. They ain't, the spirit ain't on them. The Lord didn't give them the eyesight to see these things, but it's evident that they're pushing forward with this. It says, Axoff plans to use the cash to expand clinical trials and build out manufacturing capacity. Right there. They're using these trials to build out manufacturing capacity. Right there, man. Straight up. It says, in a company press release carried by Biospace, the firm spotlighted its soft fluoron material and said its implants have been used temporarily in 11 patients so far. As reported by the Boston Globe, the Shanghai procedure was conducted through a local partner, but Axoff is not naming partner or the hospital involved. Chief Executive Paul Lee Floch told the Globe the company plans to enroll more patients in China this year and to run multiple clinical trials there, signaling that Shanghai was not a one-off experiment. You see, this is real. They're going for it. That Edomite-Moabite partnership is going forward, and they're going to push this thing out. They propped this up. Like I said, they propped it up. And I didn't even read the whole article, man. They propped this up at this particular location for manufacturing. That as soon as they get it all good, they're getting all the patents and everything. They're getting all the government clearance to produce these things. And they're going to manufacture it for mass because we're coming to the time where it's going to be pushed on people. So, I just wanted to touch on that. I hope this was edifying. I'm going to say call law, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakah, Shalom.
Yep, so whether you accept it or not, it doesn't matter because this trial will come upon the whole earth. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Brakah the Yahweh, Brakah the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakadash, Brakah Dum. So, here we go, Esau, taking more countries, right? High place of Esau, Edom, Babylon. Communist Cuba's lights dim amid U.S. oil blockade, which Trump has been doing everything he can to get them to submit, right? For a peaceful takeover, but nonetheless a Venezuela style, where they'll just come in and they'll just take it over. Blackouts, shortages, fuel rationing, empty streets now define daily life in Cuba. Although the norm for the decades, these hardships have reached catastrophic proportions as the island nation suffers its worst energy and economic crisis since the fall of the Soviet Union. With the country's main supplier impaired, Havana is without energy needed to keep its grid stable, leading to rolling blackouts and widespread shortages of everything from medicines to food. And they'll do the same tactics to get everybody to comply here in Babylon. Oh yeah, they'll say that they need it for this, that we're running out of energy. You've heard shit talking like that. And you know how bad Trump shit is, man. Trump shit is the worst. Because he's the worst liar, yet he's the most cruel. That's the fierce king and cruel Lord is spoken of in Isaiah chapter 19. But most don't understand prophecy on what that's talking about. It's not talking about ancient Egypt, but it's talking about modern-day Egypt, which is Babylon. White House aims to push the communist-led nation into talks and concessions, getting them to basically submit to them. Combination of indirect pressures through increased tariffs against Cuba oil suppliers and direct intervention by the U.S. Coast Guard in the region has amounted to an effective blockade of the island. So, again, just causing others to fall. Trump administration is showing some signs of easing pressure and allowing a Russian-flagged tanker to deliver 730,000 barrels of oil to Cuba on the 31st of March. So just, letting it go so they can at least fall by summer, right? Island's first sizable import of crude in 3 months, given Cuba's daily needs of nearly 80,000 barrels per day. In 2025, this shipment provided less than 10 days of supply. So, just fucking with them. Acting like they're nice and they're not. Now, like everything else, though, while you know about the takeover of InfoWars that eventually that name is going to be no more. Alex Jones will be around, sure. You know, he's controlled opposition, but nonetheless, though, you know, they have a court, you know, that ordered the closing of InfoWars to where it'll become Onion Wars, which obviously that's not where you'll get you know, certain information from. So you'll probably have an alternative site like W7 has D Live, and you know, Stu Peters' network has his own. You know, so getting into this a little bit, right? So you'll probably find another platform, but for now, it looks like InfoWars is about to be shut down. I don't know what the date is for it to be shut down, but you know, you already know that the court has already ruled in it.
I woke up this morning and I saw trending on the top of X, court order shutdown of InfoWars. That was the grok synopsis and then tens of thousands of posts and articles. That's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly right. So let me explain very simply, because my phone's blowing up. Everybody's asking what's happening. The Texas receiver appointed by the political judge that ran the show trials and the HBO whole production, it was literally just a fake trial, ready to found guilty beforehand. Judge Gloria Gamble has turned over the assets of InfoWars to a receiver. They didn't want money. They didn't want to operate it for money. They began months ago saying, we're not going to pay the bills. We're not going to sign the yearly contract for the internet and for the satellite uplinks. And those companies let us do month to month for a while. And they all came to us a month or so ago and said, at the same time, even though they weren't talking to each other, they said, no, you've done this for 3 months. The lease is up on the building right here. So that was the landlord. And so he said, well, it looks like the 30th of April is the last time we'll be able to operate because everything's getting turned off. Then about 2 weeks ago, the Onion announces, after their failed attempt and fake auction they did in federal court and got caught doing a year and a half ago, that they were taking it over. They said they were in the building and running it and doing it. It was just total lies. So all of that unfolded, and so they got blocked 3 days ago by the Texas Court of Appeals from taking it over. It's because they were finally having a hearing in where it's court. They thought it was a foregone conclusion that was being handed over to them. They had CNN and NPR and AP and all of them there, thinking they were having this big victory yesterday, but the day before, the Texas Court of Appeals stated and blocked it and said they couldn't do that. And so they had to have hearings and show all this proof and all these other things because obviously they didn't follow the proper procedures of the law. That's obvious. They're announcing they run it, they're selling merchandise before they even had a court hearing, telling everybody that they were in the building is totally insane. So the Onion failed to get InfoWars for the second time in a year and a half. But the receiver told us to get out of the building by midnight on the 30th, last night. So they're turning the place off that makes the money. They don't want money. This is a profitable operation. They've got $4 million plus in their account. But they suck that out and then hold it, and then we just didn't have money to operate and pay the crew. I have been paid a long time, period. Been working for free, okay? Literally, for free speech systems people. So when they say, with Jones, well, you can sure still do shows, work for other companies, but he won't make a nickel. Well, that's not how it works in Texas. I can have a house and car and stuff and have medical, and that's all I need. I don't care. So I won't just work for basically peanuts. I will work more. I will work more. You understand that? I will write more books and have it donated to charity, or all of it. You want to shut me up, you're going to get the opposite. Okay? And I'm going to work out, I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to live longer. Instead of being a fat slob I used to be because I didn't care about myself, I just cared about the fight. Now I realize you want to hurt me, so now I value myself, I take more vacations, I work out, I pray more, I'm doing a lot better. Because I kind of, subconsciously, I was still fighting really hard, but kind of just, I wouldn't even call it gotten depressed, just kind of gotten in a low area about 2 or 3 years ago, as you know. And now I'm stronger, and my will's greater than ever. So all their attempts to crush my will, my crew's will, and our viewers and listeners' will has completely failed. So we got kicked out of the building. They said leave on the 30th. But then the Court of Appeals suspended his powers. He's still the receiver and still, quote, owns the assets of this, but he has no power to do anything. But I'm not in the building. It's locked up, and that's it. And so we're gone. Now, maybe get in courts. We win. We get back in there or something. I don't think it's probably going to happen. We have the Alex Jones Network backup system, and more studios being built. But here's what you need to know. Today at 11 a.m., we launched the Alex Jones Show on the Alex Jones Network, AlexJonesLive.com. AlexJonesLive.com will have the Rumble feeds, the X feeds, our own feeds. Bigley owns it. Bigley owns Alex Jones, the AlexJonesStore.com. That's how you fund it with the system, with the great supplements and T-shirts, collectible knives, and so much more.
Yeah,
the AlexJonesStore.com is the coordinates. The sister shopping cart has some other items, some of the same items, and some better deals. Some deals that aren't as good as the other site, so it's apples and oranges. AlexJones.com. That's how you fund the future of this and get the great products. And I'm so thankful for all of you.
Yep.
But what I really want you to do,
just like Stu Peters did an impression
of everywhere else. Everybody, tell folks, Alex Jones is back. Thanks to public support. You didn't miss a lick despite the deep state with all these incredible attacks at AlexJonesLive.com. So that's where we are right now.
So you got it, AlexJonesLive.com. But yet some of the stuff was on InfoWars, but nonetheless, though, AlexJonesLive.com. That's what I really wanted to get to. So we'll look for that. You know, we got a few minutes here, right? And if so, I just... Yep, it's right here. So there we go. I don't... Yeah, see, this is like 3 hours ago, right? Yep. He's got... It looks the same, pretty much. Trump says Iran war terminated as war powers deadline arrives. The Iran war has been terminated. President Trump told Congress on Friday the 60-day deadline for congressional authorization elapsed. Negotiations to move from a ceasefire to a lasting peace have so far proven fruitless. On Friday, President Trump told reporters he was not satisfied with the terms being offered by Iran, which I'm going to get into that. So, you know, you can see that that's the headlines, you know, citing that demands he cannot agree to, right? You mean to be paid reparations for everything they destroyed, you know, because that's the main thing Iran's asking for. Without that, no, they're not going to reopen the strait. You know, fuck you. You know, you fucking started this war. You need to pay us reparations. That's only fair, right? They've got to come up with the right deal at this moment. I'm not satisfied, Trump told reporters before he departed the White House. Asked why he's not satisfied with Iran's proposal, Trump said, they're asking for things that I cannot agree to. Right now, we have negotiations going on. They're not getting there. They are very disjointed, Trump said. They're not going to get along with each other as leaders. Well, it has more to do with the Israeli state continuing their war of terror against them, right? So, you know, that's what he's telling people, right? Oh, it's just, you know, Iran's being difficult, etc., right? So, you know, Alex Jones said a lot more than just that little bit there, so we'll play some of this as well. So, yeah, they're going all the way. They are going to invade Iran, and Alex Jones got the scoop on it, that they're going to go through with a full-blown ground invasion. What a perfect way to get his new platform up and running once again. You know, with this other, you know, oh, they shut down InfoWars. Well, a name is just a name. They didn't shut down Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is still out there. You know, as Richard from Boston puts it, you know, it's oftentimes publicity stunts, you know, because he still wants to sell you the, you know, best stuff, you know, that we have great products, etc., and they're outrageous on the prices. I mean, the prices he tries to charge for colloidal silver, which is already expensive, but, you know, his version, you know, is even more. You know, because a little tiny bottle for like 60 or 80 bucks of colloidal silver, when you can get a taller bottle at something like your local nutrition store, maybe even, what's that, Trader Joe's, you would get it better there. But, you know, InfoWars, so it'd sell you those products. He's still got his products on that. So, you know, it's just a name change is all. But either way, he's got the scoop on this, the inside information, and he's revealing that they're planning a ground invasion as this goes into.
We're coming in hard and strong. Get your head out of the gutter. We're talking about Iran here. And Alex Jones has come out and is now literally talking about how there's a planned ground invasion in order to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I don't want to believe him, but he's been more right than wrong here. Of course, a lot of people paying attention to the situation are saying there probably will be an escalation sometime soon. Now, with this happening, how will that look? As, of course, this is a big speech. This is going to be a big potential action that a lot of people are saying probably will happen. Now, what is going to amount from that? How will this play out? Here, we're going to talk about that, as well as some of the winning conditions. As, of course, the debate now is, you can't just tuck tail between our legs and run. What did you think was going to happen here with this type of war game scenario that everyone was warning about? Again, a lot of this stuff is ridiculous, it's crazy, and we'll get into all of it here on this independent media broadcast if you appreciate
But first...
Now, as the Republicans are screwing over their constituents, passing FISA, making sure they get rid of provisions that would stop the central bank digital currency, not stopping the kill switches in cars, protecting glyphosate, and ignoring the domestic agenda, lowering costs, as MTG says. There's also pundits on CNN acting like buffoons, like this man who was previously for the Iraq War, now fully in support of this conflict and its kind of prolongment.
Did you on TV 4 to 6 weeks ago when you said we were weeks away from it? Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not going your way.
One political concession. One political concession.
Honestly, I'm not going to have this guy. Everybody, hang tight, okay?
Yeah, not the best diplomatic luck here as things are devolving, especially with international geopolitical situations, as Trump reportedly is cutting loose Italy, as there are larger talks about ramifications for Italy, for Spain, for not supporting the war effort. We have Meloni, the prime minister. I remember being at Mar-a-Lago with Meloni and Trump hanging out. They're all buddy-buddy. They are very politically aligned. The Pope says he's not a fan of the war. Trump attacked the Pope. Meloni defended the Pope, says she's not a fan of the war either. And Trump now is publicly calling her out, saying that he thought that she was brave.
Oh, yeah, bravery. There we go.
Now it looks like there's going to be some type of action here, as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is talking about ramifications for our allies that quote
Excess of
it looks like they're just trying to pass the buck here, but in reality, there still is massive amount of military movement to the Gulf right now, which a lot of people see as a strong
and you see it going into Jordan and Syria.
Saying that Trump is reportedly preparing to strike Iran again. Now, why would they take a pause? Well, there's probably some larger questions about the munitions we had, which kind of Zelensky confirmed by throwing us under the bus, saying, yeah, we can't rely on America. They're spending all of their payloads. We are, as of course we're told we have enough. You do? A lot of people see this kind of strategic ceasefire as a way to restock, reload, get prepared, and go in again to hit the Iranians that are fortified in their mountainous positions. That's very hard to penetrate with a lot of modern type of munitions. Now, again, we have a lot of advanced stuff. We have a lot of bunker busters, but there's only so many of them that we have. And this is why Trump probably went to car manufacturers and was like, hey, can you help us build some weapons? As even Nix came out and says that they're probably getting ready to hit Iran all over again. Now, this matches with the propaganda from Fox News.
Fox News!
They're the same George W. Bush Fox News like they were that tremendously destroyed this country from within in the early 2000s, as now they're talking about U.S. CENTCOM commander just briefed Trump on final blow. That's how they're selling it. It's going to be a final blow. I don't want to believe it, but when you got the propaganda machine, the Murdochs, that were very instrumental in starting this year, according to a lot of mainstream media reports, now running out this later, latest
it's
kind of
combat,
bloodshed slop.
Combat.
They're loving. I'm like, oh man, this doesn't look good. 24 hours before the clock expires. Protest says they're sitting in a cave. They want to deal badly. Hypersonic Dark Eagle missiles.
Ooh.
Researching killer stacked. Yeah, miracle. We'll blow people up. In children's school, yeah.
America! Fuck
This is a
yeah!
disaster.
Fox News alert, it's decision time. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper has just briefed the president in the Situation Room about...
This is Jesse Kelly. I do my hair. America. Jesse Kelly. It's good. Yeah.
Hey, you gotta make fun of this shit.
Stop it. Stop it. That works on boomer grandmas, right? Doesn't work on everybody else. Look at this guy. I mean, come on. Come on. Right.
Come on, feel the noise.
That grooms himself more than probably.
Gotta get ready for the war, because Fox News says.
Oh, it's not convincing. Yeah, we gotta go bomb him again. We gotta make sure the price of everything goes up. We gotta make sure that becomes more expensive. We gotta make sure.
What's the ball?
We gotta blow up some people. You know, we gotta blow up some schools and hospitals. We just gotta do it. And I'm being facetious here with that last statement, obviously. Anyway, before playing the rest of this boomer slop and then getting into the assessment here from Alex Jones, that is talking about that this is probably going to happen. We just wanted to tell you about We Are Change Our Shop.
All right, there's the sale. I knew it was going to eventually try to sell it.
That compounds, obviously, do it in a smart way. If you're older, propelled onto us. So, get it while supplies last here, of course. Let's go back to this. Yeah.
Fuck yeah!
Before more years now, as of course, this could probably be a perpetual war for Trump's entire presidency.
What could be the final blow.
Yep.
The U.S. military is preparing
It's Trump
for a short and
shit.
powerful wave of strikes. Targets include the enemy's
It's
remaining
Hank
military
shit,
assets.
too.
Short and powerful. It's going to be short and powerful. But now listen, they're abiding by the ceasefire. They haven't aggressed first throughout the last few years, right? They're not the ones attacking first. Bibi's government attacked them first a number of times. They go after them, and they go after their embassy, right, in Syria. They go after their assets in Syria. protecting the Sunni
And then they
Wahhabis,
brought down
ISIS
Syria
elements,
together.
when Iran was fighting them inside of Syria, right? Bibi's government has always been, and now with the U.S. government, is the attacking force. And then Iran always has been retaliating here. So we gotta bomb them again. We gotta attack them first again, right? Because they haven't attacked us first. They haven't retaliated first. I don't like the Iranian regime, but let's just call it out for what it is. We have to again have the world shocked at our actions, and we gotta bomb them again.
Leadership and infrastructure.
Yeah, we gotta bomb their infrastructure. Yeah, their bridges, their power plants. Why? It's like you're making sure that the world's energy prices go up by like 20%, right? By just getting rid of Iran as a world energy producer.
It's proving to be very stubborn. The talks seem like they are stalled. Are you getting antsy to break the ceasefire?
Well, I mean, I don't know what stubborn is because really nobody knows what the talks are except myself and a couple of other people. They want to make a deal badly.
In case the Iranians needed a little nudge, the Pentagon's contemplating bringing a brand new weapon to the battlefield.
Yeah, we're going to nudge you. We're going to blow you up.
The mother of all hypersonics, the Dark Eagle. It can hit targets 2,000 miles away. The enemy's last ballistic missile launchers are in the crosshairs. B-1 bombers have been surging into the region, and they can be armed with...
Paid for by the American taxpayer as we get rid of social programs and local programs. I want to get rid of them, but I don't want the money going straight to the military-industrial complex.
With up to 5,000 pounds of hypersonics. It's a big payload.
Yeah.
We're about to hit day 60 of the war. And if we're going by the book, and if you're asking Congress, that means the deadline for Operation Epic Fury expires tomorrow. But Trump could also do what
Epstein
Clinton and
Fury,
Obama
you
did,
mean?
ignore Congress and keep firing. The Secretary of War says technically we paused the clock 2 weeks ago.
Intending to
Fire away, fire away.
war in Iran, or
He believes he's invincible.
that he needs an
Now
additional
he's
30 days to
titanium,
remove
right?
U.S. forces. So we are in a ceasefire right now, which our understanding means the 60-day clock
He
or stops in a
hexes a
ceasefire.
If
fucking
King's right, that means
juice.
Trump has 24 hours. The president's being presented with options. On top of airstrikes, Admiral Cooper also reportedly briefed the president on seizing the strait, a ground assault on the coastline and strategic islands, which would be a shame for Iran because today they're celebrating Persian Gulf Day. Here's a quote from the gay Ayatollah. Foreigners who come from thousands of kilometers away with greedy intentions have no place there except at the bottom of the waters.
Now again, an invasion, another major attack here, which Alex says is probably coming here, is just crazy. We're talking about 93 million people, a country the size of Western Europe, a high IQ country, right, that's extremely mountainous and very difficult with deserts and huge city areas. As right now, listen, a lot of this is being debated. A lot of this is being talked about. There's a reason they're proposing a draft, right? The Palantir is literally releasing their manifesto, like, oh yeah, we should probably have a draft, right? There's a reason they started to change some of the draft rules. And this is what Alex had to say about this entire crazy wild situation.
Trump is readying troops for ground invasion. I told you that's where we go through an escalation ladder because he's got to open the strait. We walked into a trap, and now he's about to walk into a lot bigger one, and this is going to be bad. We're going to get so many troops killed. America, I know how we operate. Israel knows this too. We're going to fully commit when they kill a bunch of our soldiers. I mean, tens of thousands. And then we're going to have a full war. We're going to nuke them. We will defeat Iran. And it will end up collapsing the American economy. We'll be pariahs around the world with Israel. And Israel thinks that the U.S. will be its slave. And that together we will somehow be like the Emperor and Darth Vader and rule everything. That's the plan.
That could be what's proposed to Trump. I mean, I'm still kind of perplexed, right? A lot of people are perplexed, like, why the hell are we doing this? I think it's part of the Great Reset. I think it's not a coincidence that the coup happened under Trump's first administration, and then they put out the Great Reset and advanced it very significantly. And that's my theory, right? And listen, I hope I'm wrong, but now we're doing very similar things that essentially align with the 2030 Great Reset agenda. We're implementing a lot of those same things under his leadership once again because of his decision. Not good. And then we're doing Operation Warp Speed, but for glyphosate. Not good. What's the thinking here? There's no thinking for the American people.
We have war with Russia and Europe and Iran. These are the most heavily wargamed things out there. And it goes from bad to worse. So, in a threat escalation ladder, Trump was told they probably won't fall. They'll close the strait for sure. They do what they say they'll do. It's heavily fortified with thousands of secret positions. It's a death trap. Our ships can't get within a couple hundred miles of it. The big ones, do not do this. But Israel said that will fall in 3 to 4 days, and it's going to be great. So Trump disregarded all of his advisors and went with Netanyahu and the head of their Mossad. The IDF gave a report that's the week before he attacked saying, we don't think what you're being told by Mossad is accurate. The IDF told Trump the truth. The Israeli Defense Forces. This is all on record. Are they pro-Mullah? Are they getting Qatar money? Are they not MAGA? I mean, it's just insane. So, Yeah, within weeks, Iran war, most unpopular in 76 years, U.S. wars across the globe. And I don't need to believe a poll. I know almost all my friends and family, like all, are Trump supporters, and they're all completely freaked out because they're smart. So I'm going to get to that. And so Trump has now said, yes, what I told you months ago, they are readying ground forces. And I was told by people that were in the meetings that the head of the army told him we need hundreds of thousands of troops to take the Strait.
Now, there could also be a bluffing situation. Trump has been bluffing unsuccessfully, saying he's going to end their civilization, he's going to bomb them to smithereens, blow up all their bridges, and luckily he hasn't done that. But right now, right, a lot of people are like, what did you get? What did you achieve? There's no political kind of objectives that were won here, except we kind of regressed a little bit back and made things a little bit more difficult financially for everyone in the world. And America's looking like we're to blame for that. And you can't even say you got some radioactive material, which you're after, which Bibi's government is demanding as one of the key conditions here. As the Iranians are like, no, like let's stop talking about that radioactive material. Let's start talking about business in the world and the economy. And America's like, we want that radioactive equipment because Bibi wants it. We're like, okay, all right, that's just strange.
And we're at major casualties. And Trump didn't like that and fired him. And the head of the Navy couldn't scale up the Golden Fleet fast enough, so he got fired. Not because he was incompetent, but because he won't lie to Trump. If you just lie to him, he just forgets about it a month later and you just move on. Yes, sir, we'll have all these new magic battleships. Sir, we don't want battleships. Battleships have been important since World War I. I want golden battleships with big guns. Okay. They're called missile cruisers. So, U.S. debt tops 100% of GDP.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, right? How are we going to pay for all this?
You know what that means? When you hit 100% of your gross domestic product matches the debt, you are F-U, you know what it.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes on and on. And now it's confirming fuel prices, energy prices, cascading, everything exploding around the world and here, guaranteed to kill the recovery.
Our gross domestic product, right? Our debt tops 100% of our gross domestic product. There's no way of us ever being able to pay this down. And some people are saying, hypothetically, what if Trump knows that
he that laid themselves with heavy debt, which is the stick play spoken of.
Central bank digital currency.
Yeah, there you are.
With the Great Reset that he's in charge of, right? Because that's another aspect here. He's like, oh yeah, there's this Great Reset. And Trump's like, what if I implement it? All right, we got 8 years, how do we implement it? Coup or war? And then like everything just collapses, boom, I come up and I build out of the ashes my system. Instead of a new system run by the other forces. That could be sold to him, because that's the only logical conclusion that I can think of here.
And he's right. When you put it all together, that's what it's about, is a great reset. Now, that one was a little lengthy, but, you know, it brings in all the points, right? You know, this war is what's going to usher it in. I mean, I see that quite clearly, not to mention the consequences of taking. The MOTB is being caught up in it, which is the destruction coming in the Third World War. Venezuela signs oil, gas deals with U.S. companies. Well, no wonder they got a compromised neutered government after they removed Maduro. Venezuela signed deals with U.S. companies in a bid to boost oil and gas production. The latest sign of thawing relations following Maduro's ouster. Well, yeah, they got a puppet leader, a puppet government doing whatever. The South American country is currently led by interim President Rodriguez, who is cooperating under heavy U.S. pressure to meet President Trump's demands for access to the country's vast oil supplies. Yeah, they serve Babylon, right? Rodriguez served as Maduro's vice president before U.S. terrorists captured him in the raid in January. Now grappling with leading a country saddled with the world's largest proven oil reserves, but an economy in shambles. Possibility of increased Venezuelan oil output comes as global markets face disruptions in West Asia oil supplies from the conflict in Iran, which has driven up oil prices. Under the agreements, U.S.-based firms Hunt Overseas Oil Company and Crossover Energy will operate in the Aramco Belt, where Venezuela's oil reserves are primarily concentrated. So, you know, going to pretend to recover the economy, right? You know, things are going really great underneath them, right? That's how they'll sell that one. U.S. may deploy new hypersonic missile against Iran. Yeah, he's threatening bigger missiles. The U.S. already used a missile for the first time against Iran, a short-range ballistic missile called the Precision Strike Missile, which, according to investigation from New York Times, was used in February 28th strike that hit a sports hall in the Iranian city of Lamrad, killing at least 21 people in the area, including boys and girls practicing sports. Yeah, because they're really good at that, and it's fun. Remember, this whole thing has been fun. It's been fun for Trump. Well, he ain't the one pushing the buttons. He certainly ain't on a fucking aircraft carrier taking off to go do this. You know, now he's sitting pretty telling everybody what to do. You know, you got Pete Hegseth, the fucking douche, giving the orders, right? Who never even served in the fucking military. Trump ain't never served, and neither has Hegseth, the fucking douche. But he is the Secretary of War. U.S. Central Command requested deployment of U.S. hypersonic missiles known as the Dark Eagle for war against Iran, as President Trump is going to restart bombing campaign. So there we go. And like everything else, though, even this one's talking about the plans for the new ground war. So here it is, you know. Where everybody's talking about that. Yeah, indeed. And the ground war definitely seems to bring out all those other countries, because this is where it's going. Ezekiel 38 will come to pass, as well as Revelation 16, a whole bunch of them. You know, because, well, that's talking about the Third World War in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. You know, all the scriptures leading to it, all prophecy will come to pass very shortly here. And they're going to usher in a new system in the midst of all these things coming to pass.
Hey everybody, Josh Richardson, World Alternative Media here, and when people thought that this was actually going to be 4 to 6 weeks in Iran, I mean, they were incredibly mistaken, misled. Of course, we've been talking about from the beginning, this was not going to be some short-term ordeal. And with them calling for this massive new region of pipelines in the Middle East to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, we can expect that to be a 10-year process in itself. That's admittance that this isn't ending anytime soon. And, of course, we have these news stories coming out. Oil spikes as Israeli defense chief says required to act again in striking Iran, achieving objectives. See, it was never meant to end. Simultaneously, Trump is presented with risky secret
It's
Iran
a song
plan
that never ends.
using U.S. ground troops as oil prices plunged global economy into chaos. This is all about destroying the supply chain, shifting powers from the west to the east, a currency shift, and of course, pushing people into digital IDs and rations and all this stuff. Again, order out of chaos. U.S. may deploy new hypersonic missile against Iran as Trump weighs fresh strikes. Oh, well, here we go again with the so-called peace president, as Iran's Ghalibaf tells Iranians, unify as U.S. blockade seeks to make us collapse from within. And guess what? It's the same thing for Americans and Canadians and people all over the world. It's causing us to collapse from within. That's how Orwell always said this would end. Before we get into this and dive into the breadth of all what is happening right now in the Middle East, I urge people to check those system, the recessionary situation where this was planned a very, very long time ago. We go back to the 1952 military coup, the secret Savak police, and then, of course, the Iranian Revolution. All of this was scripted. And when they say, well, look at these guys arming and funding terrorists in the Middle East, who are they funding? Allegedly, Hezbollah, the only security group allowed to operate in Lebanon for some time after the Israeli government shut down the country's ability to defend itself. And, of course, that is one example. But then what about all the other groups in the Middle East that were armed and funded? I don't seem to remember it being Iran that did that. I seem to remember Israel and the United States and Britain and some other countries in the bloc arming and funding ISIS, the Taliban, Mujahideen, Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda. I mean, what about that? Oh, and well, but we had to do that to stop these other bad guys. It seems like probable reaction, solution, repeat, again, all by design, a Hegelian dialectic. And what happens next? Oh, well, what about all these extreme Muslims in the region? Yeah, I get it. There are a lot of those in that region. I've lived in the region. I've traveled around the region. Most people are not, however, extreme. It is the governing bodies, which is by design, the Wahhabis that live in the region. Wahhabis are something that it has been blown up since the arming and funding of the Mujahideen. And, of course, that goes back to the 70s. And that was created by Israel, so now we have this extreme element, and then, we have to stop them. Before that, look at Afghanistan. Women in short skirts and bikinis at the beach, driving cars, working, all that kind of stuff. Now they're covered like beekeepers. So I find it very interesting. And then when we have, at the same time, Americans saying we're trying to liberate the people of Iran. What, like Iraq, the 2 million dead? What, by bombing a school? Oh, but we're going to be stopping the pedophiles in the region because I think it's like something like 1% of the country, 2%, might be more, have married people, girls that are underage, around 15. That's messed up, though it happened in the U.S. like, 40 years ago. But with that said, Okay, those guys, you want to bomb them. So bomb a school of 170 children, killing 170 children?
Because it's
stopping
fun.
pedophilia? That's what Andrew Wilson said in a recent debate with Owen Schroyer. Owen Schroyer absolutely killed it at that debate. It's so absurd, these arguments. I mean, you're helping these people by killing them, and then, oh, well, look at all these Iranians that are against the Iranian regime, and they left the country. Of course, the Iranian regime has done some bad things, and of course they want to leave. And perhaps it's from great ignorance that they haven't noticed that every single time the United States government and the Israeli government have ever acted in order to so-called free a country, it has led to unbelievable levels of deaths, terrorists rising up. Look at what just happened in Syria with al-Shirani, al-Shara now, there's a bunch of people getting tortured and killed, Christians, Muslims, etc. And look what happened with Gaddafi in Libya. And I lived in Egypt. The people that came from Libya, every single one of them despised Hillary Clinton for what she was involved in. We saw he died with an evil cackle. We see this in Iraq. We see this in Afghanistan. We see this to some degree in Pakistan. We see this all over the region. And then, of course, we have the 7-country agenda, which General Wesley Clark talked about in the 90s, which involved every country that the U.S. has gone to war with, except for Iran so far. Oh, well, he mentioned Iran, but nothing happened. Boom, they go after Iran. A country that hasn't attacked anyone in 200 years. They've done some bad things to their citizens, there's no doubt about that, but name a government that hasn't, and why is it your business to bomb them in order to free them? It's insane. And, of course, this country, when you actually look at it, hasn't used nuclear weapons on anybody. The only times they've attacked anyone is just recently in retaliation since May of 2025 to attacks on them. Which, by the way, they're one of the top allies of Russia and China, so we'll see how that works out. It's all part of the agenda to shift trade from the west to the east, to shift monetary policy from the west to the east. But nonetheless, who has attacked countless countries? Well, the United States, which wants to be a virtue signaler of peace worldwide, has bombed over 100 countries in 100 years, is the only one to allegedly use nuclear weapons. Some people don't believe in that, but to use nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For them to use chemical weapons and white phosphorus and Agent Orange and use EMP weapons and cause people to have strokes and make their brains bleed. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that the U.S. does, and they're going to virtue signal about Iran. A country that had not attacked anyone in 200 years has done bad things to their citizens. Well, let's look at the United States and all the things that they've done wrong to their citizens. We won't go into it. It would take all day. That's another video.
And you already know what that is, right? Mystery Babylon the Great. You already know what they've done to our people, right? Nonetheless, though, you can see that he's coming to his end, that the Most High is going to punish Esau Edom in this Third World War. And you can see how Moab, which is the echelon, if you will, the finances are all being shifted over there because, again, you know, this system being rolled out worldwide is going to be through Echelon. You know, it's going to be through Moab. You know, but Donald Trump, you know, the king of Babylon, has got his own version of it. He's not going to call it a central bank digital currency. No, it's a stable coin to so-called compete against Moab, but they're really working coincidentally. It's just that Moab's going to be the leading power, right? The digital yuan is going to be the new world currency. Most advanced U.S. warship retreats as war against Iran breaks American Navy. So their most formidable ship, the USS Gerald Ford, largest and most expensive aircraft carrier ever built by the U.S., has been forced to withdraw from West Asia after 309 days of continuous deployment in support of the terrorist war against Iran. $13 billion Leviathan is returning to Norfolk in a state of significant mechanical degradation. A humiliating retreat that exposes the fragility of the American war machine. Ford's departure, expected around mid-May 2026, leaves the U.S. naval presence diminished at a critical moment, while two other carriers, USS George H.W. Bush and USS Lincoln, remain to enforce the illegal blockade targeting Iranian oil shipments. The loss of Ford reduces immediate strike capabilities precisely as diplomatic efforts between D.C. and Tehran have completely stalled. So like everything else, though, you know, they have to have their tail between their legs before the main prophecy comes out. But make no mistake about it, when they do it, it's going to be catastrophic because we know the scriptures very well talking about this. And not to mention, Russia ain't just going to go along with this and just let Iran fight this war by themselves. Or let Turkey fight this war by themselves because, yeah, Turkey is the next And I got articles on that too. Iran's Khamenei says future Persian Gulf will be free of U.S. presence. Well, like everything else, though, you know, there are guarantees from what they've seen. Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, said in a statement on Thursday that the future of the Persian Gulf is without U.S. presence and vowed that Tehran would set new legal frameworks for the strait. Statement which commemorated Iran's Persian Gulf National Day, issued through Iranian media as Khamenei has yet to make public appearance since being chosen as the successor due to the threat of being killed by the U.S. and Israeli state. America's hollow bases are barely guarantee their own safety, let alone their dependence on pro-American allies in the region, Khamenei said. So like everything else, though, it also said, you know, which I had an article on it. There we go. There it is. Here's what he also had to say. That U.S. warships will burn like bases if Iran's attacked again. And I believe Iran can carry that out and actually hit those ships, because you already see, well, indeed, the Gerald Ford is already retreating, which is supposed to be the most expensive one. Imagine what it'll do to the other ones. You know. Top IRGC commander says Iran will respond to any enemy aggression with prolonged and painful blows, adding that the American vessels will share the fate of U.S. military bases in the region. You have seen the fate of your bases in the region. You will see the fate of your warships, he wrote in a post. His warning comes as U.S. President Trump is said to receive a briefing on new plans for potential military aggression against Iran on Thursday from CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper. So, like everything else, though, they're ready. They're ready for that ground invasion. So, like everything else, though, that's not where they stop, though. Especially this other leader gets in, but there's been talks about it for a while, that they're going after Turkey next. That this is how Turkey gets involved. When the Israeli state actually tries to invade Turkey or uses the U.S. to do so. Turkey accelerates 60,000-ton aircraft carrier amid Israeli intentions. Israeli state likens Turkey to Iran and deepens ties with Greece and Cyprus. Ankara bets on naval power to reassert itself. So, it's already happening. Posturing's happening. Positioning's happening. There is going to be a war. Here's a rumor of war. But yet, more than a rumor, it's a war. That's going to happen. Ezekiel 38 tells you this. While the world's attention is fixed on the U.S. blockade of the strait, Turkish shipyards are busy constructing the country's first national aircraft carrier. Turkish Naval Forces commander said last week that the aircraft carrier is expected to be finished toward the end of next year, creating a buzz. The ship, the largest warship ever built in the country, is expected to have a displacement of 60,000 tons and a measure of 285 meters in length. It will surpass the French aircraft carrier, which has until now been the Mediterranean's most powerful flagship. It is designed to host 60 aircraft, feature a short takeoff system. Many in Ankara see the rapid progress of the project, which was only launched in August 2025, with the personal attendance of Turkish President Erdogan as a sign of Turkey determined to build up its arsenal to establish the necessary deterrence capabilities against state actors. So you kind of get a timeline here of this, because this thing's not even built until like the end of 2027, somewhere around there. That's what they're saying, that it'll take end of next year, yeah, going into 2028. Well, isn't that near the end of so-called Trump's term? Going in 2028, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a whole election, all that bullshit again. So we can see, though, that, well, a lot of things are coming to pass. So, what does Trump have to do to stay in power? Now we can look into that a little bit, right? Because I believe this is a major sign, though, that, yeah, we're going to see some pushes. I'm not saying that, okay, you know, we're going to go all the way till that, but that just seems to be a timeline there. They're giving you some clues here, you know, is all. So like everything else, though, you know, Matthew 24 went into this quite a bit, that you shall hear wars and rumors of wars, right? You know, so rumor has it, right? We often say that. Rumor has it that, you know, they're going to go after Turkey, after Iran. So we're going to continue to see more and more attacks, and yet an impending ground invasion against Iran. Yet they still want to go after Turkey, which is Gomer and all its troops. Matthew chapter 24, verse 6, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right. They still got to roll out the system in the midst of all these rumors, right? For nation shall rise against nations. Well, what's that talking about? That's civil unrest. That's, you know, pretty much turning, you know. One group is taking over here, you know, okay, this is mostly this area, belongs to this, you know. And kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. Right, because they're going to be amping it up. Remember that earthquake that happened in Syria and Turkey? Just right before Bashar al-Assad fell, there was an earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria. One of the greatest ever. You know, that was all done by design, but yet crippled both of them because Turkey is a place that they want to go after. So think about that. They have these kind of weapons, aka DO. And you haven't heard of DO until they used it against Maui. You know, but DO is very much there because around the same time that Maui, well, they were using it against Turkey and Syria. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Having the names Yahweh, Yahweh, right? You know, you're going to be persecuted unlike any other time. You know, many will be offended and betray one another and to hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. We see that happening. Lawlessness will abound. The love of many will grow cold. You mean? So this pretty much is talking about the fact that nobody's going to have a regard for the kings or princes, right? But he who endures to the end shall be saved, meaning that you're going to have to endure all this. You're going to have to go through all this. The gospel of this kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. So pretty much so, it's going to be a wrap eventually. It's going to be a famine of the word, because this has gone out, you know, to all the world. So all these things are going to come to pass very shortly, and we're going to see it in our lifetime. And whether it happens in the next year or two, or it happens in 2 or 3 years, that's really not a lot of time when you think about it. There isn't a lot of time left, so hopefully this has all been edifying. Then I will say, Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wal Abal Babal. Brakatham, Jehovah Elect, Shalom.